Hi, I'm Amy.
And I'm Kirsty, and this is our podcast, Love Needs No Words.
So, first of all, guys, we just want to say thank you so much to everyone for downloading, listening, and sharing our podcast last week. We're so happy that it reached so many people, and we really hope it continues to do so.
Yeah, we had some really lovely messages to say that, people saying that they could relate to things that we were talking about, which is exactly why we wanted to do this, or that they knew someone that they thought might like to listen, and that they were looking forward to listening to the next one. So that's been really encouraging. So thank you very much, everyone.
Apparently, it even reached Australia.
It reached Australia. Yeah.
I know, mate.
Down under.
How good
That
is
was
that,
a
mate?
terrible accent.
Oh, so how's your week been, Kirst?
Busy. It's been a busy week. Two probably main things that we've been focusing on this week. We've got preparing for school, so that's a massive thing, and obviously the end of school is coming up. So we've had transition sessions and settle sessions at school, quite intense this week. We've got two. We had one today, and we've got one again tomorrow. So lots of talking about school. Nursery are doing lots of talking about school, and lots of kind of reading social stories. And to be fair, the school have been really, really good up to now, providing resources for Max to help him settle. So that's been great. But yeah, it's definitely kind of it is a kind of topic of conversation in our house, I would say, at the moment. And they did this really lovely summer fete on Sunday, so we went down there and we saw it, and he was really proud to be going to school. So I'm hopeful. In some ways, that's kind of the hope in me, but I'm also really mindful when we go for settle sessions, there's still quite a lot of anxiety around the whole school transition, which I know is normal for lots of children, but just something that we have to be kind of mindful of. And then it's Max's birthday today, so
Happy birthday,
a big
Max.
4 birthday in our house. So yeah, look, we've had people, family coming to stay and spend time with us, which is nice at the weekend. And we decided not to do a birthday party. It was a kind of do we, don't we for quite a while, because I'm quite mindful that lots of his friends have had birthday parties, and his sister had a birthday party for her first birthday, and he did actually ask me if he was gonna have one, but in our kind of experience, it's something that he finds quite overwhelming. So we kind of decided, let's not go for a big birthday party, and let's do lots of little get-togethers. So we've done things with family and a few things with friends, and
That's really nice.
just going out. He loves Pizza Express. Big shout out to
Who
Pizza
doesn't?
Express. But yeah, just kind of navigating that with letting him be himself, and just not getting too bogged down with other people's reactions in the restaurant.
We do the same every year as well, and I think it's just so much better for them. And you don't want the stress of organising a party and then them getting completely overwhelmed. And it goes back to that whole thing, doesn't it, where you feel like you should be throwing a party when why does it matter?
Absolutely.
Every year we'll go and do something as a family, and actually we all get so much more from that. So
we just kind of have to sometimes remember to take a step back and think, actually, what's in Max's best interests. And you know what, maybe next year will be a different story. Maybe we'll be able to I'm considering doing a party at the place where he does his gymnastics classes, so he's very comfortable there. He goes to soft play there a lot. I know quite a few of his friends go there as well, so that I think that's potentially one that will work, but just this year was probably a no. So yes, we've had a lovely week, but
that's
just
nice.
quite busy. How was yours?
So we went away to Devon this week just for a little trip, which was really nice. I don't know about you, but since going back to work in May after maternity leave, I feel like John and I are passing in the night a lot, and like weekends are always busy. So to slow down and spend quality time together was really great. But I made the mistake before our last holiday earlier this year of not really preparing Alex enough by, not discussing that we were going away, and he seemed really like deregulated whilst there. So it was nice to see him really relaxed this time. I just sort of kept saying, "We're going on holiday this week,"
Yeah.
or and then we're going on holiday tomorrow. And you don't think it's working, but it definitely made a massive impact. And it's worth discussing that actually, what deregulation and sort of stimming looks like for the boys.
Mm.
So for Alex, like deregulation sort of happens in places he doesn't know very well. And when he's tired is like when he's at his worst. So lots of stimming and getting emotional very quickly. Sometimes he can hit his head with his hands and his whole like body tightens up, which is obviously not very nice to watch and can take him some time to calm down. Like these for us are very rare now, but can still happen. His main stim is he wiggles his fingers in front of his face, and then he does a lot of vocal stimming, which sort of gets louder, I find, in places where he's not like, aware of, or we don't go to them regularly. And then he likes to spin and jump. So before I knew about Alex's diagnosis, I used to like try and stop him from doing these things, like especially when we were out, as if I was embarrassed, which I feel so bad about now. But I know it's now just what part it's like what helps him to regulate. So we actually encourage the behavior. So if he's spinning around in the kitchen, like we just start spinning around with him, or if he's
Sure.
running up and down the lounge, we'll like
Mm.
run up and down with him, or John will pick him up and spin him round. And I think it's like when you learn it's all part of what makes them, and then you can teach like family members or friends about what the stimming is and why they do it. You can embrace it, and ultimately they become like calmer because of it. And you've probably seen there's like lots of toys you can buy that can help them with that, like a Whizzy Dizzy and indoor trampolines and loads of sensory toys, all designed to help them with regulation. So when Alex was younger, he actually loved his indoor trampoline, but we're definitely going to get like a bigger one for the garden now, now that he's older. But does Max stim, and does like where sort of when does he sort of get the most deregulated, would you say?
Yeah, so I think yeah, he does in his own way. So actually, I don't think we fully recognized what it was when he first started doing it. So Max has always been a thumb sucker, and he does that for calming. Like
Mm,
he's done that ever since a child. It's just part of him. It's what he's always been done. And when he was younger, he kind of used to pinch his neck repetitively, and I noticed that he would kind of suck his thumb and pinch his neck, and I just used to think, oh, like other children have comforters, this is just his way of comforting himself. And he would
yeah.
definitely, I did notice a pattern of the fact that he would do it when he was tired, or maybe, yeah, looking back when it was kind of a busier environment, or sometimes when he was just coming out of nursery, that kind of where he'd obviously been quite overstimulated for the whole day. um he doesn't pinch his neck anymore, but he does other things. But it's still the same kind of repetitive kind of movement with his fingers that he does to kind of I guess, calm himself down. Deregulation for Max. So Max gets quite kind of overwhelmed, and he'll get quite very overexcited. So he will So if I take birthday parties as probably quite a good example of this,
Yeah.
is a classic example of where Max can get quite deregulated just because of, I guess, just a sensory overload.
Mm.
He will literally look like he's having the world's best time, because he'll be running around, he'll be, yeah, just massively overexcited, but actually he's totally overwhelmed. And that's just his way of kind of showing it. And he just doesn't really, like, he'll have no awareness particularly of people around him. Yeah, he does get quite loud. Like he'll get louder and louder and
Mm.
louder. He'll shout, that kind of thing. um Funnily enough, with him, it's hit and miss, and it definitely happens when he's mostly tired, but sometimes when you don't realize it as well. So he'll get quite deregulated by things like the stress of school, or when
Yeah.
I went back to work after maternity leave, and actually that caused him to be really deregulated, because we actually kind of considered, okay, what's the impact on me, and what's the impact on the logistics of just family life, and how will this impact Eva because she's going to nursery? And to be fair, poor Max, actually, I don't think we fully gave it the recognition that he probably needed, and actually he became really deregulated just with the change. So that can cause kind of some of the more challenging behavior, I should say, like the biting to be more frequent. Yeah, his tolerance, I would say, just gets a lot lower. He's just not as able to kind of manage throughout the day.
And has that got worse, do you think? Like, do you find as he's getting older that's becoming more difficult, or do you find it easier to manage?
I think we have coping mechanisms that help now that we didn't have before. But I think as he's getting older, the anxiety is almost over bigger things. And so sometimes he'll be deregulated for a longer period of time, not necessarily at such a heightened level, but like almost like a lower level of deregulation, I think is what we've noticed. Because the things that are obviously causing that, like transition to school or me going back to work, are kind of bigger things. f- And he has, I guess, the comprehension to be able to worry about them more.
Yeah, it's
Whereas before
interesting.
it was like much more in the moment, I would say.
Yeah, I was going to say it's interesting because obviously Alex can't tell me,
Mm,
but I was going to bring this up a bit later actually, but I went away on a hen do a couple of weekends ago, which was very much needed and so much fun. But I was away probably the longest I've been away, which was 2 or 3 days, and I don't think it's helped that we've moved recently as well.
mm,
But since coming back, he follows me everywhere. So I can just go and put something out in the bin and I turn around and he's there, or I'll come upstairs and he's there. And,
mm,
I'm not used to it because, he's older now. So but obviously there's some sort of anxiety there. And
yeah,
again, I don't know if it's an age thing. I don't know if around this age they get anxiety again, but, then you throw school into the mix,
yeah, and it's a big
yeah, like they're obviously aware there's
it's a
something
huge change.
happening. And nursery said today that, as soon as one of, couple of the teachers that he's most fond of left the room, he was just an absolute mess. And
Mm,
I'm not used to this because, he's got quite comfortable at nursery now. He's, usually when I pick him up, they're like, yeah, he's had a great day. And like, I would say the last few weeks, there's been a few days where I've come to get him and I can hear him before I've got there.
mm,
And I don't know what it is, and this is the most frustrating thing for me when I can't say to him, "What's up? What's wrong? What is it?" Do you feel like they're gonna leave you? You're sort of thinking, "Well, what could it be?" So it's interesting speaking to you because if Max is quite clearly saying to you that he's feeling anxious about school and all of that sort of thing, well, then obviously Alex is feeling all these things as well.
yeah, and even though he's verbal, he still can't necessarily communicate it in that kind of
Yeah,
articulate way. It's almost, yeah, even, and I think sometimes maybe that's the thing with us, is that because he is verbal, you kind of you expect those things to come out, and you don't always appreciate the fact that actually he hasn't got the comprehension necessarily to understand his emotion and put that
yeah,
into words. So even though he might be feeling anxious, he can't say to me, I feel anxious. Sometimes if he's in a quite a calm space, if I ask him, often before bed, if he's in quite a, if we're having a good bedtime, and I'm having a chat with him and I ask him, were you worried about something? He might share. And sometimes it's really random things, and I think, I don't know if that's actually genuinely worrying you, or whether that's just something that you've said. So even though he has the words in theory, in practice, it's not
it's still a
quite
guessing
as
game.
100%. It's still a guessing game. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, I think I do. That's one of the things I find the hardest is, I am just trying to guess what it is. And with the nursery again, finding techniques to help with that.
You mentioned about him having good, like relatively good understanding now as well. So
Yeah,
he'll be listening to all the conversations that are going on. And I know you've been doing settle sessions at school as well. So
yeah,
it's all those kind of like, why am I going here, and what am I doing here? Yeah, I mean, it's a lot for all children, and you are right. I think from what I can understand, there it does seem to be a very clear link between anxiety and neurodiversity. So
mm,
it's not surprising the kind of amount of work that we're having to put in to, yeah, to try and keep them in that calmer space.
Yeah, and like you say, there's a lot of chat going on in the nursery
Yeah,
about schools and people
yeah,
leaving. The word leave is probably being used a lot,
yeah.
and yeah, it's probably having an impact, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, when we had Max's EHCP needs assessment approved, he was seen by an educational psychologist, and one of the things she said to me was it's almost like a grieving process that they go through, because they literally, and I suppose if we think about it logically, they're literally there one day, and then they're somewhere totally different, and they don't go
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
And it's hard, like even if we move jobs or you know yeah, probably leaving jobs is probably the most kind of the closest thing I can imagine to that. It's quite unnerving, even as an adult, when you kind of understand what you're doing and it was a conscious decision. But this is obviously kind of put on our children. So
mm.
yeah,
Oh
yeah.
God, you got
So
me anxious again now.
no, no, no. So let's talk about some positive things. What what was a hit on holiday? Because I'm sure there was lots of lovely parts as well.
Yeah, let's get back to holiday. Yeah,
Let's talk
back
about
to
holiday.
back to relax. Um, yes, a few things we did were a big hit. So, we went to the aquarium. I don't know if Max has been to the aquarium, but Alex absolutely loves the aquarium. I think it's all the colours and movement of the fish, and he just spent ages looking at each thing, as did Izzy. So that's definitely worth doing again. And we actually remembered we went to the same place like a year and a half ago with my sister. She came as well. And we remembered he sort of got there and just ran, like it was obviously just so overstimulating and there was so
Mm.
much noise. And he didn't look at anything. I think we were through the aquarium in like, 10 minutes flat. Like he liked it, but he wasn't really taking anything in and it was just all a bit much. So to see him this time, just sort of like stopping at each different bit, it was just lovely because it was like, gosh, you're really taking this in this time. So yeah, so that was a big hit. Swimming, it's amazing to see how much Alex's confidence has grown in the water. He's always really anxious when getting changed, but he like loves it when he's in. And again, John and I remember taking him swimming when he was about 18 months old and he just cried the place down. And I remember that specific moment I looked at John and it was like I really hoped this was going to be a lovely moment for us, like the three of us going swimming, and he just screamed. And now, obviously, looking back, it must have been really overstimulating for him. But we go really regularly now, and it's really helping him with his independence as well. Like watching him with his armbands, kicking and smiling. And I actually cannot believe it's the same child as like again, even a year ago. He would never have swam like without us there with his armbands on. So again, they just continually surprise you.
It's like looking back at those moments of reflection, isn't it? Because
Yes,
sometimes
which
you
we
can
forget
get
to
kind of,
do.
yeah, and you can get caught up in that kind of, oh well, my child's not hitting their milestone in that, and the children are doing this and blah, and in your brain, don't compare, don't compare. We're told
Yeah.
all the time, don't compare, and you know not to do it. But actually, just taking those moments and like I guess being offered those moments where you can think, yeah, actually, a year ago that wasn't happening like that. It just wasn't even a
Mm.
thing. And now he's actually doing it and he's enjoying it. And that's yeah, I think they're such like hot, like amazing moments, at least for us.
Yeah.
Max graduated his oh it sounds like a big word, graduated his gymnastics class. I mean, a year ago, to
Oh,
have thought that he could independently go into a gymnastics class was just and there not be kind of consequences to that was just
yeah.
unthinkable. And actually in the last 6 months he's like massively surprised us. So yeah, love those
It's
moments.
amazing because also
Yeah.
I think sometimes as well, and we're all guilty of it. I've actually heard the words come out of my mouth like, "Oh, no, we won't do that because I don't
Hmm.
think he'll like it," or "Oh no, I'm not going to bother doing that because it'll be too much for him." It's like,
Yeah.
well, how do you know?
Yeah.
Like until you try, if it's an absolute fail, then at least you gave them a chance to give it a go. Like that.
Yeah.
I go into everything with that now. And like he like a couple of times he's been so anxious, like getting changed for swimming. And John's looked at me with the face of, shall I take him out? Like, shall I go? And then I'm like, no, come on. Like there's obviously got to be a limit, but also I just think when you do push them, it amazes you. So that time when he really contemplated leaving, we
Mm.
got in the pool. Within like 5 minutes, he was loving life, and then I couldn't get him out. I was
Yeah.
like, "We've got to go now, we've got to leave," and he was like, looked so sad to leave, and I was thinking, "Bloody hell!" Like an hour and a half ago, he's crying
Yeah,
the place
exactly. It
down.
would have been a totally different story.
Yeah, and we
Yeah, I
nearly
think
left. So, yeah,
this is
I
it.
totally agree.
It's almost the fear of like history repeating itself if you've had a bad experience with something as well.
Yeah, yeah, and it's so easy to think, I think the things with like soft plays, and I know,
Yeah.
your thing is like, oh, just if anything happened at a soft play, just you feel awful. But, again, if you can go on a day where you can guarantee it's going to be quieter, all of these things, obviously you have to take them into account. But, you never just rule it out. It's like you've
Yeah.
got to give these things a go. And if even birthday parties you're invited to, it's like, yes, we will come, but if things get a bit much, like, just know that we're going to leave. But obviously, I'm going to give him or her the opportunity to see how they get on.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
Having that kind of like not putting the pressure on yourself that just because you go, you have to stay and do the whole thing.
yeah,
Yeah, that's so true. We've done that recently with swimming lessons. Max loves swimming as well. With us, we thought amazing. Let's try a swimming class. An absolute disaster, honestly.
really.
Awful, absolutely awful.
Was that
Not
a Sen one, or is that just a
No,
normal?
it was a regular
Yeah,
swimming class, and fair play to the people who were running it. They, their classes were lovely, and it was more just I wouldn't say that it was necessarily geared up for perhaps neurodivergent children who would naturally be quite anxious
yeah.
in that environment, but yeah, it just didn't work out. So we kind of gave it a few, and then it was just causing so much stress.
But
So
you
we
tried.
stopped. We
You
tried.
tried, you gave him the opportunity to give it a go, and, also, yeah, like we were saying, there's got to be a limit where you think this isn't fun for him, it's not
Mm,
fun for me. And I definitely had this actually a couple of years ago. A friend of mine was like, "Oh, my child's going to this gymnastics class, why don't you try it?" And again, in the back of your mind, you're thinking, I don't know if this is really going to be right, but let's go for it anyway. And we got in there, and the first thing she wanted them all to do was sit in a circle and then take it in turns and do things. Well, obviously, he was up and just wanted to climb on all of the apparatus. And she came out to me and she said, "Does he understand what I'm saying?" And I was like, yeah, he does to a certain extent. But I said, he's not going to want to sit down for too long. And obviously all the equipment's there. And I just remember standing there and I thought, why have I done this? Like, I've done this for me. I've not done
mm,
this for him. I've just done this to fit in.
yeah.
And, again, you just feel awful. And I just said to her, "I'm giving it 10 minutes. And if this isn't working out, then we'll leave." Anyway, they got into the bit of like, doing roly polies and all of that. And he loved it. And I was watching him, and, they were sort of giving me thumbs up. And I thought, well, I know he enjoys this element because, he does it with his dad at home. And suddenly I was like, okay, fine. Anyway, I don't know what happened, but he got a nosebleed. So they came
Oh,
out to
bless him.
me and he was like covered in blood.
Oh,
And
Amy.
they looked at me like, "We're so sorry." And I was just like, so I was like, "It doesn't matter, don't worry." Anyway, I was clearing him up and he was obviously crying. And you just think the whole thing's just been a bit of a disaster. They said, "Oh, don't worry about paying for today, and don't, and let us know if you want to sort of come back," because he sort of stood there, looking
Covered in
like
blood.
looking
Like he'd
like he's
been to a
been to a
boxing
yeah, he'd
class.
been to a box. So I said, "Oh no, I think we're okay."
Maybe this isn't
But
for us.
thank you so thank you so much. Anyway, I walked out, and all the parents were waiting outside. Obviously, I was the only one that kind of lingered. And I opened the door and he's just stood there like covered in blood. And I just remember this mum went, "Oh my gosh, what's happening in there?" And I thought, do I like play along, or should, like, I'm a bit cheeky. So I just went, don't go in like
You
that.
should
And
see the
I
others.
did. I did. That's exactly what I said. I went, don't go in. You should see the others. And I thought she'd laugh, and she was so
Oh no.
worried. And I
Oh
was like,
no.
oh no, I'm only joking. I'm only joking. I said he's just like somersaulted too much or something. I said everyone else is fine. It's fine in there. But I came away and we drove off and I looked in the back and he was just covered in blood. And I just said to him, I'm so sorry, Alex. I'm so sorry, mate. Like I did this because I was just trying to fit in with my mum friend.
Yeah,
Like
I know.
really, this is not your bag, mate. And we'll go and find something else that you actually
Yeah,
enjoy doing. But
yeah.
that was a real, when things happen in life and you're like, that happened for a reason. Like it was a
That was a
real
moment.
message. It was a
Yeah,
moment and a message to me that he's not at that point yet, and that is okay.
yeah.
And there'll be a club at some point that he'll join, but right now, let's
That's
not
not
put
the one.
yourselves through it. But yeah, I had to mention that because it was so funny, that lady's face when I exited that door. It's just absolutely comical. But
Oh dear.
oh, back to the holiday. So, another thing that he absolutely loves is the arcade. I mean, I loved the arcade when I was younger, just getting like a pot of money and putting it in like the 5p and 10p games. So we did that. So yeah, he's definitely a sensory seeker with that and the
Mm,
aquarium and everything else. But yeah, it was just so nice, like to just be away as a four. And I think because Izzy's that bit older now, she didn't need as much attention than she did last time we went away. So that was lovely. I mean, I think the beach is a mix for us because Isabel, as Eva's at that age as well, where they just put sand in their mouth, and that's not fun for
I know.
anyone really.
I know. I was in two minds. Do I just kind of let her realise on her own that this is not
Yeah.
very tasty, or do I stop her? I don't really know. Yeah, I think I was quite fortunate she wasn't kind of piling it into her mouth. It was more
Yeah,
like
just like
she's a
trying
thumb
it.
sucker as well, so it's kind of on her thumb, and she's like, this is a bit weird.
Well, Alex is
So
getting
yeah.
better at putting things in his mouth, but he used to be really bad at like putting stuff in his mouth. But I wouldn't put it past him. So the Pebbly Beach was great. Watching the stones hit the water, they both loved that.
That's good.
But yeah, we noticed a massive change in Alex this time compared to our last trip down, and I think because we go to the same place
Mm,
each year, I think that helps
yeah.
because, you know, he understands where we are, and all the places we go are quite similar. And we were talking with friends this week, weren't we, that
Yeah.
holidays were such a massive thing for all of us, before. This is our group of mums that have children with additional needs. We were talking this week and we were saying, holidays for all of us was such a massive thing. We used to all go with our partners to loads of different places, and it was a break away from work. And now holidays just aren't what they used to be, and they're not when you've got kids. Obviously you go and it's going to be hard work, but a few of them were saying that it's really hard, and some days their children want to do the same thing and they just want to do just something else, and
Mm,
it can be really really exhausting. And I said to them, I think maybe that's the only reason why we're able to do a variety of different things, is because we go back to the same place each time and do maybe one extra thing each time. But I think because the actual place he knows and he feels secure there, maybe that's why. But it is hard, isn't it?
yeah, it's that familiarity, I think. Um, we, to be fair, fairly similar. With Max, we've yet to venture abroad.
Yeah,
We've
same.
Yeah, there's been kind of a few situations where we were very close to going abroad, and then for whatever reason, it's not happened and it's not worked out. So we've done a lot of staycations, which, to be fair, work for us, and I think
Yeah,
not putting ourselves under that pressure helps as well. We always do like self-catering holidays, places where they've got a pool, where there's
yeah,
something like to occupy the children. So there's been a couple of places that we've been in, Cornwall and Devon, that have been just really great, to be fair. We still get days where I find that he tends to want to push boundaries. He can get quite, you can just tell he's out of sorts, he's out of his comfort zone.
Mhm.
and it take him quite a few days to kind of settle down. And it's as a parent having that patience and
Yeah.
recognizing, okay, this is why this is happening, this is why he's perhaps whining a lot more than normal, or just not listening at all to anything, just just not in the same kind of place that he normally is. But um it's definitely helped us being in a kind of, it sounds really cheesy, but like a bit of a home away from home, where at
Yes.
least some of the things that are familiar are there with us. So even where we've gone away previously, he's got a kind of inflatable like bed, which is great actually. And we've taken that because actually that's a familiar space, at least for sleeping. So
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
really helped. Or even, when we go away, if he sleeps in like just a single bed, taking the bed guard, he has a bed guard on his bed still because he's a massive wriggler and he'd just fall out of bed, but just
Yeah.
taking his bed guard, so it's just something that's familiar for him. So little things like that we've definitely found have helped. But so I think we were chatting earlier that actually for us, not always obvious when we're actually away. The fallout tends to be when we get back
Mm.
and getting
Yeah.
back into routine, and almost like that relief that he's home, or that he's kind of had to cope for a week or however long we're away for a weekend, and now he can just be himself and he can just like so we've
Yeah.
had times where we've literally got back one day, and then the day after we've had like quite intense meltdowns which have lasted for a long time and have been really quite difficult. And it makes you think, oh, are we doing the right thing by going on holiday here? Like, is it genuinely that really stressful? um
Mm.
so it's kind of a battle that we've had in our mind, and we want to, because like you said, like spending that time as a family is really invaluable as well.
Yeah. It's hard, isn't it? Because now on reflection, I wonder if that's why Alex was all over the place today at
Mm,
nursery, because obviously we only got back yesterday and then he's straight in, So, yeah, it's difficult to know, isn't it? But
yeah,
I mean, and when they're there, they're having such a great time. But I think it's just that sort of come down after the holiday, and then, it's like being back at school again. I
yeah,
was speaking to my dad earlier, and he was saying, you always used to cry when you came back from holiday and you had to go back to school, always, because it was just that, transition back to doing what you were doing before. So yeah, it is hard, but I just think even with going abroad, I think we're not going to know until we go for it and try it.
I know.
I think, and again, they might surprise us.
For us, like recognizing that, okay, going on holiday is going to be a change of routine, and actually all the prep that goes into that beforehand, so talking about it, like showing pictures on the internet, where are we going, and
Yeah,
uh, that all massively helps when we're there. But then it's that there's not that same kind of preparation for when you get home, so that's probably
yes,
why there's some challenges when you get back, perhaps.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, we're gonna try, I think, and brave going abroad next year, but we're very much thinking go to a villa rather than a
yeah,
hotel, because
definitely.
hotels are that much busier, and um just four of us in a hotel room just sounds really unpleasant.
Yeah, that doesn't sound
Actually, it
fun.
sounds really unpleasant. So whilst I'd love some sun, I'm not sure that that's quite gonna work. But then, like you say, until you try, you don't really know, do you? I think
No,
it's
I
sometimes the
agree.
fear of it.
Yeah, I agree. I think a villa's the best thing because then you're self catering, and I know with Alex, he's quite particular on what he eats. So, that would be useful for him. But then also you can take those home comforts and you sort of make it feel like home. I think that's the
Mm.
key, isn't it? And bringing some familiar toys and all that sort of thing. But any
Yeah,
other things cropped up for you this week?
I think for me, I went back to work from maternity leave about, I don't know, 4 or 5 weeks ago now. So it's still just the juggle of having to kind of work. Who's working from home? Who's going
Yeah.
into, for Max, that's one thing we've had to really focus on as well. So we had to, one of the things that we've done is kind of create a board where it talks about where I'm going, where Daddy's going to be, where he's going, and where his sister's going, because there was a lot of anxiety tied up in him not knowing where I was going to be, because he'd got so used to me being at home for a year. And whilst I might not have always been at home, he didn't know what I was doing during the day. So for
Oh, that's
him,
such a good
that
idea.
comfort blanket of me being at home, it was actually quite like a shock for him when I went back to work. And
Yeah,
actually, when I thought about it, I massively underestimated it, because a year in their life is actually a huge amount of time.
of course it
So
is.
he didn't
Yeah.
really remember what it was like for me not to be at work. So yeah, work's kind of taking up obviously quite a lot of time.
You'll have to share that board that you've made because it's really good.
Yeah, moment of creativity. It's a bit budget, but it's working, so
That's fine.
it's
If it
easily
works.
replicated.
But the other thing I was going to mention that's happened this week is I've ordered a potty seat and step. It was recommended
Ooh,
by a friend, yeah, at
yeah.
work. She managed to toilet train her autistic son in 2 weeks. So apparently it's got like support on the sides and it's like all in one, so it helps them feel more secure because found sort of Alex like stepping on the step and then getting on the toilet. It was like two different movements where this is all one thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll let you know how I get on with that. But we tried to potty train this time last year and he just didn't understand it. So he would sit on it okay, but then literally get off, go to the corner of the room and go in his pants. But he was
Mm,
aware that that feeling wasn't very nice. So obviously there was that understanding there that that wasn't, the right thing to do. But yeah, my friend recommended do a timer every 20 minutes so that he associates that noise with going to the toilet and then just have like a jelly as like a treat when he goes. But
yeah.
last time he didn't go to give the jelly, so I'm just hoping this time it'll be more successful. But I'll let you know how we get on. But it'd be really nice if he was out of nappies by school. But I mean again, they've been amazing. Like, there's absolutely no pressure, but I just
Brilliant.
feel like he will wear the pants and he is aware when he's been in them. And nursery have said that's their kind of like target ahead of the summer holidays and everything like that. So yeah, fingers crossed, it can happen. But again, I'm just not going to put too much pressure on it because it just never works if you're stressed about it. So I'm
I know
just
they pick
gonna
up on it.
they do, and I just sort of think, look, you're going at it your own pace, and we'll just have to see how he gets on. But I'll let you know. But have you got any more tips to help?
So we potty trained Max at 2.5. We decided to do it over Christmas, even though everyone had told me do it in the summer when you can get them outside. Um, but we just decided to do it because we were both at home. We had a little bit of
Yeah.
time off. We did it before we knew that Max might have a neurodiversity. So we didn't. I suppose we didn't have that we
Yeah.
didn't have that thought. It just wasn't a thought that kind of entered our minds when we were doing it. So he actually took to it quite well, but we didn't put any pressure on it. I was very much of the opinion of, if it worked, great, and if it didn't, that was okay too.
Yeah.
And he did take to it. We had a potty that we took out and about, which was great. And it was like a my carry potty, which he liked, and he could carry it himself, which I think gave him a bit of autonomy over
Yeah.
it and kind of made it a bit fun. And we went for the bribery. I was told by a
Nice.
friend at work, don't do stickers, go straight for the Haribo.
Oh yeah,
So
100%.
yeah, and Max is quite he's quite motivated by food. So
Yeah, Alex is.
when it went well, he had like little Gruffalo biscuit things, um and that helped with it. And it did take a bit of time, and we kind of, once we'd realized that it was sort of going in the right direction, we just committed to it and we just went for it, and we sat it out. And I think also we recognized, or we have recognized over time now, that they still have accidents even when they're trained. Like
Yeah.
my nephew is still the same, and there's still points where they might appear to even regress because there's lots
Hmm.
going on, or they're busy, or they actually just don't prioritize that because they've done it and it's not something that they're necessarily focused on. I think, like you said, just don't put too much pressure on yourself, but if it seems to be
Yeah.
going in the right direction, maybe just like go for it.
Yeah, we're like he started clapping this year,
Oh,
randomly, and when we say clap and he claps, we're like, yeah, and you can see on his face he's like, yeah,
yeah, I like
I'm clapping, where I'm like, It's the same thing. It's like, just go, and then we're going to be like, yay, and you get something. But he just
Yeah.
didn't grasp it last time. The hardest thing is we're very much a family that go like out and about all the time. And
Yes.
like the thought of like being in all day and setting a timer every 20 minutes, but it's the
I didn't
commitment you just
stay
have.
in.
Oh, you didn't?
Not
Okay.
really. No, I
Okay.
just
That's made
took
me feel
lots.
better.
I took lots of spare pairs of clothes and recognised I put a towel on his under him for his car seat and on the pushchair, and I sat him on a towel. And
Yeah.
I mean, we didn't go out loads,
No.
but we did still go out.
Yeah. I think maybe for him, we'll probably have to spend a lot of the day in just to get him into the swing of it. And
The
then,
routine.
but
Yeah.
yeah, my friend was saying like her boy's non-verbal, and she was
Mm,
saying he'll like grab her hand and either take her to the toilet, or he squeezes his eyes and grabs her hands, and that's the sign that he wants to go to the toilet. But Alex will have a pec card which will come back from nursery, because they're obviously going to start doing it there as well. So
mm,
he can then hand us that if he wants to go to the toilet. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to do it, but I'll keep you up to date with how
yeah,
he gets on anyway. So we've got a guest on next week, haven't we?
we do.
Very exciting. So we've been following their journey on Instagram, and yeah, you'll find on our Instagram more info, but it's definitely one not to be missed. Please remember, if you have any topics you'd like us to discuss or have any questions, please message us on Instagram, love_needs no words. And thank you for all the lovely messages that you've been sending us, and just for all the support as well. We really, really hope this is helping even just one person with their journey. Yeah, so thank you so much for listening, and yeah, have a great week.
Bye.
Bye.